This team is playing extremely fast. Delaware State is. They played two very high up-tempo games with Ryder and with Manhattan. They press, they defend, they switch, they play extremely fast on offense, want to get out in transition, they want to attack the rim. They mix up their defenses, they play a lot of zone, and they'll get into us. They will absolutely get into us. So it's a good test for us to come back and have to be a lot better than what we were the other night, especially when it comes to our defense, when it comes to our defensive transition. And we've got to get better at moving without the ball. We've got to get a lot better at moving without the ball. That's something we spend an enormous amount of time on offensively, and we're not doing a very good job of it. So game like that the other night is one where we were fortunate to win the game. Fortunately, we got into the bonus early in both halves. We were able to win the game with our free throw shooting as well. But whatever stats we had that were positive goes to show that they can be a lot more positive. Like we had 48 deflections and really didn't work very hard defensively. But the hardest thing, and I watched games last night and I watched some other games, the hardest thing for players to understand right now is the level of competitiveness that they've got to have. And it's multiple possessions. It's not even necessarily yet every possession. I'm not sure anybody's got it yet at every possession. But you just look around the country at some of the scores. And you're not going to just come into a game and outscore people and outshoot people. You have to come into a game and outwork people. And you have to have a high level of competitiveness. And one of the hardest things for young players to understand, and we're going through this, is you're not just playing to play. All right, you are playing to compete. You are competing to a commitment of a standard. And that standard has got to lead you to winning. And that's what we've got to continue to understand. And we've got a short period of time because we were off yesterday to get ready for this game, but that's our whole focus.
Talk a little more about that defensive transition and the rebounding, which are awfully kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, the rebounding was a little bit mixed. They didn't go very hard to the glass, so there were a ton of long rebounds. And when you got a team that shoots 50% of their shots or threes, there's going to be a lot of long rebounds. So it wasn't a classic let's get into each other type of game. But our hustle wasn't as good. You know, we've got a little stagnant inside of the game, and we were open. You know, we missed open shots. We were open, and we didn't have to work extremely hard to get shots, but that's on us. I mean, we've got to work harder to get in the paint, get the ball reversed, get the cutting, get the movement, things of that nature going. But the defensive transition comes down to a lack of communication. It comes down in some cases with some guys to a lack of hustle. And they were very spread out, right? They rarely ever ran anybody to the rim. Now, they might drive to the rim, but they rarely ran anybody to the rim. They were more of a five-out transition team, which is different for a young team. But it's not an excuse, it's just different for them. But we've got to do a way better job of communicating, a way better job of getting the ball stopped, getting back. We're still doing some very, very sloppy things of reaching for the ball in the backcourt or trying to make a steal in the backcourt rather than sprint back. And I'm not talking about the guy that's on the ball. I'm talking about making a stab at the ball. You know, and that's what you want to eliminate. You want them to understand, any team, to understand the difference between real hustle and fake hustle. Because the one thing you cannot fake is urgency defensively and urgency and rebounding. You can't fake that, right? There's a lot of things that you can get away with in sports. There's things you can get away with in basketball. But if your urgency is not right defensively and if your urgency is not right on the glass, it shows up quick.
How much of the defensive urgency, as far as you know, being freshmen and high school kids are not really, you know,
ton of it. But we haven't had leadership established yet, and we've got to work more on that right now. We haven't had leadership established on defense with upperclassmen, and you know, we can't live in a vacuum of lack of leadership. I mean, we've got to keep developing it. And I've had teams that you had some great leaders that can handle a lot of stuff, and I've had some situational leaders, and I've had some that you had to give them what their priority was. Okay, like, okay, you got to be the quarterback of this, or you got to take care of that. That may be where we're at because we don't have a level of consistency and any communication on any upperclassmen right now. And I was afraid of that. But that's what we've got to work. It's 2 games in. I mean, it's not that it can't change, but it's got to get better. But it also has got to get better for everybody that's in the game.
Coach Christian Brown was saying that Sevier is a true point guard, and Anthony is, you know, a scorer that can facilitate too. Like, what?
Christian's diagnosing positions now.
Well,
okay,
good.
Good.
He knows more than I do.
Okay.
But like, how is the dynamic of this offense different when it's Sevier bringing the ball up? With
I don't know. We've got to have multiple decision makers. Sevier certainly can drive the ball and create. Anthony can do the same. We got to hit the paint. right? Like we got to get the ball moving. And the other night we started out the game thinking that we're going to establish from the 3-point line, and that's not how we can play. And again, I mean, it's whether it becomes what the starting lineup is tonight, what it is, I mean, tomorrow night, what it is next week, and Maui is up for grabs. I mean, we've just got to keep learning how to play. We have no real identity yet, okay? And so in answer to your question, it's two different guys. They can play well together, but the bottom line is we've got to get more movement, we've got to get more attack, and then we've got to have better decision-making. And Severe is doing a pretty good job of decision-making. Anthony is too. What has to happen is we've got to work better without the ball. Anthony's made a ton of strides there, but he's got a long way to go in that. And Severe has got to do an even better job of moving without the ball, because he does a fantastic job of moving it. But we want to get the ball to those guys more randomly, where they're, you know, attacking long closeouts and things of that nature, which creates more openings.